We are at the Peabody Public Library on March 16th, interviewing Richard Koch.
Cook.
Okay, who was born on March 7th, 1944. He lives in Columbia City, and he served during the Vietnam War. He was in the Air Force, and the highest rank was sergeant. Mr. Cook, before you entered the service, what were you doing?
I was a student and working part-time for a grocery store.
Where were you a student?
IPFW.
IPFW? Okay.
It was before it was IPFW. It was just Indiana University.
Indiana University. Did you volunteer or were you drafted?
Yes. I
Yes.
volunteered and got my draft notice while I was in basic training.
Oh, okay. I thought if you were going to school, they were drafting you then.
In 64, yes they
Yeah,
were.
they were doing
I was a
that?
part-time student.
Oh, you were a part-time student, so you were
Yeah.
doing that in 64, but you volunteered before you actually received your draft notice.
Right.
Did other members of your family, had they already served in the...
Yes, my
in the
father
military?
was a Navy veteran. My uncle was a Navy veteran.
So what made you choose the Air Force then?
It had the best possibilities at the time.
What
Career.
do you mean, education? Wise?
Combination of education and tours.
Tours.
Yeah.
Okay, so you volunteered. Were you married at that time?
No,
No, we're not married. Brothers and sisters?
I have a sister.
One sister. You joined the Air Force in 1964, October of 64. And what happened, you went in and volunteered, and what did they do? What happened after that?
Went to basic training at Lackland Air Force Base for 6 weeks.
And what was that like?
It was interesting.
Can we define interesting? What kind of things did you have to do?
Well, we were one of the first. They were speeding them through, so we were one of what they called 6-week wonders. So basically it was only 6 weeks long. We had to basically not do a lot of the basic because it rained the entire time we were there. So certain things like obstacle course, rifle, and all that stuff was out of the question. So we ended up doing a lot of KP.
Did you have to pick it up later? I mean, I don't...
No.
No? They just decided it wasn't
The
that
shooting we did, but we did that
Mhm.
elsewhere.
After your basic, what happened?
Was assigned to a tech school in Biloxi, Mississippi. I was there for 10 months.
To do what?
I learned to be a Morce intercept operator, or as the service called it, a ditty bopper.
Okay, what did a ditty bopper do?
Learned to copy Morse code.
Okay.
It's a radio intercept.
Radio intercept, I see.
Right.
Okay. And you were there for 10 months?
Yes.
What
that
was Biloxi, Mississippi like?
Biloxi, Mississippi wasn't that great, but it's not that far down Highway 10 to New Orleans.
I see, so you got to spend some time in New Orleans.
Right. Yeah, after I got through the initial part of my education, I was allowed to bring my vehicle down. So me and a bunch of buddies spent almost every weekend in New Orleans.
You said that lasted 10 months?
Yes.
10 months, and close to New Orleans. After that, what happened?
I was assigned to go overseas to Iroquois Air Station, Crete, Greece.
In Greece?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an island in the middle of the Mediterranean.
Mediterranean, and what were you doing there?
Monitoring communications from the entire area.
In the entire area.
Right.
Did you work a regular 9-to-5 job, or how'd that work?
It was shift.
Shift?
Rotating shift.
Rotating shifts?
Right.
So, what was the equipment like?
At the time, classified radio monitoring equipment. There was different types of monitoring, and we were able to monitor the whole entire
Did you
area.
sit at something with earphones on it
Yes.
all day or something like that?
Right.
And you just had to listen for...
Listen and notate what we were hearing. Either with a typewriter, or we had some equipment that would automatically record it.
Did you have to decipher any of it? I imagine some of it was code.
No, we had people, that's all they did.
Okay.
We recorded it, and then it was passed on to other people to figure out what it was.
Okay, did you ever find out what some of it actually meant?
Some of it, yes.
Okay, and it's still not classified, could you tell us?
It was just various communications on movements of supplies and that sort of stuff from areas that certain things we were copying are still in the news today.
Really?
From the Middle East and all.
So you weren't monitoring just Greek since you were
No,
in
we
Greek.
were
It was just-
monitoring,
and that all came through you?
right. We were one of a few stations in the area that did. And some of our information found out later went to NATO, some of it went to Washington, some of it went to the president
Wow.
at the time.
Okay, so let's see, and how long were you on that island?
18 months.
18, so we've got 28, and about half your tour, wasn't it then?
Yeah, a little over.
A little over half your tour?
By the time I got to tech school and,
Got through that and were there?
yeah.
Okay, when you weren't sitting there monitoring, what kind of things did you do?
Sightseed on the island.
Did you get off the island at all?
No, was not
No.
allowed to with my security clearance. I wasn't allowed to leave the island.
That's interesting. You couldn't leave the island with your, was it it had to be a high security clearance?
Top secret,
And because it was top secret, they would not let you leave.
no.
Okay, so,
And part of it, I was ahead of a section, so.
did you get to communicate with your family at all back home?
Yeah, by snail mail.
Snail
That was
mail?
That was before email, and phones were basically impossible to get through from that
Really?
far away.
You would think with all that equipment, someone would have a phone that could get to the United States.
That was incoming, not outgoing.
Oh, you were only getting incoming calls,
Right.
no outgoing stuff.
No.
I see. Okay, where'd you go from there?
When I come back stateside, I was assigned to Reese Air Force Base, which is a training base for pilots in Lubbock, Texas.
Were you trained as a pilot?
No, I ended up the first sergeant of their supply squadron.
Okay. Now you went down to Texas then.
Right.
Are we married again at any point
I got married during the course of that,
during the course of?
when I was down there.
In Texas?
In Texas.
In Texas.
Right.
You said you were the supply sergeant. Is that what you told me?
I was sergeant in the supply squadron.
Sergeant in the supply
Yeah,
squadron.
worked the orderly room.
Worked in the orderly room. And that was supplies for the base or
Yes.
just for that base
Yes.
there? Okay. After that,
Discharge.
you were discharged then?
Right.
Other than in Greece then, did you go outside the country?
No.
No. Okay. How about after the war then? You said you were an IPF student before, part-time.
Right.
Did you go back to school after that?
Not immediately. With family, decided probably I'll get a job.
Okay.
So
What did you do after that then?
he ended up going to Slater Steels.
Were you able to use anything that you learned in either communication schools or
I was able to use a typewriter.
typewriter?
That was about the only thing, there's not that much call for somebody who can do Morse code.
Yeah. There are not too many secrets. Well, I think there might be some secrets in the steel company, but
Yeah.
nothing like you were used to.
No.
No. So you did finally go back to school,
Yes.
and what did you pursue?
Ended up supervision, got my bachelor's.
Bachelor's in supervision.
Right.
Were you given any benefits by either the Air Force or the veterans?
Yeah, the veterans helped me get my education.
Did they?
Combination of that and Slater. When the veterans benefits ran out, Slater picked up the rest of it. Or quite a bit
How
of
long
it.
did that take you to do?
I graduated in 95.
95?
Yeah, 30-year student.
Okay, very good. How about any of the organizations after that? Like the VFW or the American Legion or something?
No.
Did you ever participate in those?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Do you ever see any of your buddies?
No.
No?
No.
Were you living here in Woodley County when you served?
No, I was originally from Fort Wayne.
From Fort Wayne?
Right.
So
I
that's
moved to
where you
Woodley
ended-
County after I got out of the service.
After you got out of service, but you
Right.
enlisted when
Out
you
of
were in
Fort Wayne.
out of Fort Wayne.
Right.
Okay. What was it? Surely you did some fun things. It wasn't all business when you were in the service.
Well, when I was in Crete, our flight, we were Charlie Flight, adopted an orphanage.
Really?
And
An orphanage
on the island of Crete.
on the island of Crete?
Right. And went there to, periodically to do whatever they needed done as far as maintaining, painting, repairing buildings. At Christmas time, we took presents to them.
It's interesting.
And it was kind of semi-adopted orphanage.
To your knowledge, is there still a base on that island?
It's been deactivated.
Deactivated.
It was deactivated in the 90s. And I surfed it a while back, and you don't recognize it now. The buildings have pretty much went down the dumper. So.
Well, the base where they like barracks, like we would see in for personal use, barracks or things like that. I mean, what kind of?
They were fairly nice block buildings,
Okay.
2- and 3-story buildings.
Okay.
And, well, basically everything there was, the compound was.
And did well, from what you're telling me, this was a pretty top secret type thing, so I imagine you didn't have too many of the locals coming on base.
Most of the support people, our guards were a combination of, that were at the 2 guard stations. So we had one getting on the station, we also had one going into the compound, and it was our people plus theirs, and the house boys, quote unquote, to clean the barracks and things. The cooks were all Greek.
Okay. What can you just tell me? We'll go back to the time of your service now. Is there anything that really sticks out in your mind about that when you think about that service? Are there incidents or?
Well, I find it interesting, as long ago as it was, and like I said, some of the things that I was copying, listening to, monitoring are still in the news.
Can you tell us any of those, or is that still top secret?
Well, some of them, Baghdad,
Baghdad?
the Yemen,
Yemen?
that area. So a lot of the Pakistan, the different countries, cities, they're still cropping up, and we were copying them way back in the 60s. So.
Were they the same people in charge in the countries?
I doubt it, because that was almost 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
And even Hussein was, I don't think he was in power then.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But that's interesting. Okay, is there anything we've missed?
Can't think of anything.
I wanted to say nothing? Pretty much sums up your experience, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty valuable information, really. I think you're the first person that we've interviewed anyway. I'm sure there are others nationally that have been involved in anything to that level, being top secret or anything like that. Well, if you don't have anything to add, we would like to thank you for your time today. And like I said, this will be transferred. This will be sent to the Library of Congress. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your service.